Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to start to share my screen as well. There. So I presume you could see my screen now on your side as well. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Okay. There we are. The good thing about Zoom is it's very much simplified. There's no extra, kind of confusing buttons there. Just a few buttons we have to work with. There is a chat button that we'll be using often. There is a raise your hand. If you would like to ask a question in between the sessions, you could do that. And I believe chat is always there where you could leave a question, or you can, if you have to leave in between the sessions, you can do it without letting me know. That's okay also. It's just that we have 9 people registered for this session, which I am taking. Um, and it's only 2 of you that showed up. So uh, I'm sure when the actual classes start, which is going to be on the 11th, starting 11th of this month, I hope everybody is available. So let's give you a little bit background of myself here, and then I'm going to ask, your interest or why you have interest in CIRS. So I get my sense of um, acknowledgement of, the reason behind you're taking the class. So I can, when it comes to explaining certain things, I would know exactly to how to connect it with you individually. That would help to uh, give it a little bit more detail that would benefit you directly. So that is the reason I would be asking why you've taken the course. So anyway, my name is Naveed Manzoor, and I'm going to be giving all your classes. And I have a background in technology, particularly in the algorithms of search engines, which I have a very in-depth experience with creating and working with. So that's where my background is. And the course books that you will be reading, the main course book, which is called CIRS Training Manual, and or guide, you can call it. That's the book I wrote. So I have quite a bit of experience with how to go about, going through different chapters or different topics. Um, and the part which is going to be more interesting for, well, I guess I could say for most of the students, is the module 2, where we actually start creating search queries. We start using booleans, we start using advanced operators, and then we become more creative with how we can optimize those search queries. So that's going to be in the module 2. But this is the syllabus, or you could say that this is a kind of a roadmap, um, which we will try to follow, but not strictly. However, the idea is really to cover all these aspects that are mentioned here within topics that is more to do with the conceptual understanding of technology that works behind the search engines, and how to be able to use that by giving specific commands for it to deliver concise, precise, and up-to-date content pages that you're looking for. So let's try to, first of all, let me just fix a few things here quickly. So tell me, Mike, your interest in this course, and how would it help you uh, when
Well, let's
you
see.
become your certified CIRS?
I'm just so happy to see an association like this finally come about. I've been dabbling with computers probably since the late 70s, early 80s. I've done everything from building and running bulletin board services back in the 80s, building my first
Mm,
website back in 93. I've been building websites ever since, and I own a ton of domain names as well. But as I have been told by my bosses, I'm very analytical, and research is something which comes easy for me. I have no problem finding stuff, almost anything there is on the internet whenever I need to find it. Not the more complex stuff possibly, but I'm pretty
mm,
knowledgeable about working around with. I've been a member of Google since they first came out. In fact, I was one of the first people I believe they contacted, believe it or not, to
mhm,
try their service out. But no, I'm really having a very strong added aptitude and abilities to do this sort of thing. And it's something I even started my own little company called Montague Research LLC here in Florida.
mhm.
It's brand
Oh, okay.
new. Well, it's very new. It just got started, but that's what I'm going to apply myself as for business to generate and market it and brand it, hopefully. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's something which I love doing
Mm,
that kind of work. I love knowledge. I love information. I
mhm,
sometimes been told I love it too much. Ever since I was a kid, I got almost a photographic memory at times.
mm.
Well, not anymore. I'm 70, so my photographic memory is kind of. But anyhow,
So
I mean, I
it
got.
seems that you have technology background.
Oh
Basically,
yeah,
you're into designing websites and things of that nature, and perhaps you'd like to now move a little bit on the research side and take it as outsourced contracts or something that you can do independently as a consultant, like research work of sorts.
yeah.
Assuming
That
like,
that
that's what you.
that that
Yeah.
that's pretty close to it because I mean, if somebody offered me a job, I wouldn't say no. I mean, but
Right.
I'm kind of independent, and yeah, that kind of describes it pretty well.
Okay. So thank you for that. And let's ask Justin. Justin, you're there?
Yeah. So interested in the course. Most of my career has been doing research for recruiting firms. Um,
Okay.
and so, but I think most of my research has been able to sort of navigate, manipulate databases, understanding their offerings and how they can be leveraged. And now I'm at a firm that's very small, doesn't really have a technology budget. So now
Mhm,
I'm having to see what is out there for free and kind of like what
mhm,
can be taken from querying,
mhm,
LinkedIn using Boolean. Um,
mhm.
and it might, but I think personally, it'd be interesting to maybe move into maybe more investigative research. And so,
Okay.
being that the course can help me professionally, but also maybe move on to something new.
Interesting, because we have a lot of students that are coming from recruiting background or HR, and it's not very uncommon to find that there is a lot of interest for recruiters to be able to access databases, floating resumes, probably trying to find the best I guess skills to look for that kind of info that is for free or that is available, because otherwise it's a very expensive proposition for someone to subscribe to those kind of databases. And generally, I see that you know in the arena of recruitment, there is one other certification which somehow, well, it's not as huge, or in the sense that it is a very short course. That's called CIR. I don't know if you heard about it. CIR stands for Certified Internet Recruiters, and it's offered by ADP Systems. You both are from USA, isn't it? Uh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, Mike,
Yep.
from USA. So
Oh, yeah,
you're
I'm from Florida.
yeah. So you know ADP Systems. It's a huge company. I think they started with the payroll systems and human resource management softwares, but now they've become a public company, and they're basically, I think they're the largest, and they are into recruitment as well. So they're sort of expanding in this direction. And for that reason, they have offered, or they're training people for recruitment as well, or recruiters are getting certified through them. So this is one certification that I would like to say that is there, or which I know of. And the second one that we are offering is actually, we are a Canadian nonprofit, as you know. So
Oh,
we are regulated strictly to stay within the confines of our charter. Um, and the charter is very much focused on training people, or it's a kind of a gender neutral certification, because we think that finding or searching for the index pages is a science, or it's an art now. It's a skill set. So it is being gender neutral. We're just training people to do all sorts of searches, which goes beyond, or which expands beyond the just finding the resumes alone for recruiters. Um, but in the sense of how some of these search queries could really bring astonishing results only if you know some of the tricks or methods of how to apply certain search operators, because they're so limited in number. Google is very secretive, and so is everybody else, because they have their and we know from our experience that it is very hard to get into their system to see exactly how it works. There is no book exactly telling how the search responds, or how it attains to the limited number of query operators that we have access to. So we have to become more creative. We have to experiment with them. We have to optimize them to see to what limit or to what extent it is going to give us the benefit that we seek, because index is growing large, and the pages every day is billions, trillions, and who knows, so many of the pages that are getting indexed. Everybody seems to be uploading digital data, digital content. So unless we know our way through, or somehow we have reverse engineered to see how the search engine is going to respond to those restrictions in the queries, to make it more filtered and more specific, we need to have a very thorough understanding of how to leverage those limited operators. So this is mostly the interest of those who take up our courses, to see what are those tricks and what are those sort of uh, creative methods. That's going to be addressed in module 2, which is, um, and I'm sure if you have had the opportunity, you could see that the certification itself has 4 modules. We call them modules, but they're 4 different exams, or you could say 4 different areas that we feel the students have to have enough knowledge in to be able to do their search independently, or even work as professional researchers, specifically on the internet. So first module that we will be looking at is internet technology, but without causing but I guess some of the students who I see, there are not many, but right now, but for their benefit, if they're going to listen to the recording, I want them to be aware that the technology part we'll be discussing is not to train you as a technologist or give you, more of a headache or complications of the internet technology. We are not into that. The wording internet technology is just to address a small part of the technology that is beneficial or that is going to work hand in hand with what we will be discussing in module 2, which is how to create search queries. So with the search query methods that we'll be discussing, you need to have certain level of a technical background, and that is not a very high level, but uh, it should be enough that, and it's for anybody to understand. It's not as complicated. That's all I'm saying. And after module 1, the module 2 is segmented into 2 parts, basically. One part is when we will be looking at, let's just roll these slides first, and that will make it easy for me to give you, uh, more of a systematic detail. Okay, so I'm going to start to run the uh, PowerPoint. Okay, so in this one, you could see that we have internet technology. It's saying how internet works. But when we say how internet works, it is not going to be about, network systems, routers, or how the internet is transmitting information. It's just going to be a general concept of understanding the difference between the ISPs, internet service providers, that is, the difference with it's rolling on its own. So let me just break out of it. And second thing is how data centers are collecting information or web pages are indexed. That is the second part. Third is, how the browsers and the search engines are different. Search engine is an environment, or it is an ecosystem, or it is really a combination of hardwares and softwares, whereas a browser is a software application. So not only how they are different, but what are the different functions of a browser versus the search engine, or what part of the information that is collected by the browser is sent to the other side or to the search engine side, and what part is retained on the browser itself. And why we explain this is because um, eventually we will have to deal with what we call context or intent translation of search queries by the search engine. So when we get to that, we would know the pulse of how certain information sets that are collected from before, based on your behavior of or the information that you've given to the browser or while you're searching certain things, how that impacts the intent translation, or how it is customized returns for those that are doing those searches. And if those are considered a barrier or a kind of a strain or a bias that is created by the search engine, how to overcome that. And in order to, to make it kind of more neutralized so that you can get exactly what you need and your behavior on the browser is not impacting what is thrown back to you as search results, what are the measures you're going to take and how you're going to use those search operators to counter them. Okay. So that is the part of the technology, and I'm just explaining it more in generality, not specific to these topics here, but in general, so that you know to what extent we would, or what could be the benefit of learning this part of the technology. Then we are going to talk about search engines. I'm sorry, we're going to talk about keywords and basic Google search operators. Now, the distinction between keywords and basic Google operators is that keywords are more to do with the language, or it is got its roots in the science of linguistics. So this part is another science, which is what is running or interpreting your search queries in terms of whatever language you're using to do your searches. And then basic Google operators connect those words or give more meaning to the words in relationship to one another. The basic second aspect of the basic is that basic means we are talking about Boolean operators. I don't know who gave it that terminology, but basic is not as basic as we think. Basic is the name given to the Booleans because it is considered simpler operators. But the truth is that uh, the Booleans are far more complex when you start to use them and to leverage them or to optimize them. And there are so many complexities just in the basic operators of Booleans. So that is another part we are going to discuss, but we will start with basic Google search, and we will start with keywords. Then we will look at the advanced search operators. We'll see the construction of those operators, the words that are used, what specific meaning it has when we use a word that is followed by a colon sign, assuming you have already looked at some of the ways in which the advanced operators are built. So, they have a wording, and then they have a colon sign that follows exactly after the last alphabet of that word. So that's what I'm talking about. And advanced operators is more complex, more versatile. Sometimes you could say that advanced operators work hand in hand with basic, or a lot of times the basic operators cannot function or cannot be optimized without using advanced operator in the same search query string. So we are going to deal with that. Um, in fourth topic, we will be talking about how search engines read web pages. Remember, it's like indexing system of anything that you put, assuming, and I'm just using the analogy of a cupboard, okay, and cupboard with several drawers, and drawers have different sections, and we start to put our things in there in a more organized way to know which of the drawers contain what type of clothings and so on. So indexing is similar to that. If we have to look for something in the cupboard, if we understand the indexing system, we can actually go and get that piece of cloth uh, easily without having to, find it in a more disorganized cupboard. We would like it to be more indexed and more organized. If it is more organized, it is easier for us to retrieve our items that we need. Similar to that, the search engine at the time of collecting the pages, or when it is putting it in its repository, it is got to apply a certain indexing system so that these can be found easily. So it is important for a researcher, especially who is collecting majority of the information on the internet, to understand, first of all, where those things are or where are those items. Knowing or understanding the indexing systems helps us to know where they're put. Simple as that. Then in 5, it says how search engine understands search query. So here we would be looking at intent translation for the search engine when you write something in a certain language, along with the operator, the restrictors that you're using. So to know the way in which the search engine is going to interpret your query, we call that intent translation. There is all sorts of algorithms that are working on top of the index system, so that at the time of retrieval, it would first of all try to understand the intent behind your search, and then try to apply something we call in legal sense, we call it consensus ad idem. Consensus ad idem is Latin for meeting of the minds. So for the search to better understand your intent, it is going to apply things like artificial intelligence. It could be machine learning. It could be seasonal trends. It could be the collective wisdom of how the search is going to interpret it, but it is all mechanically done. It's not like humans are delivering something or trying to understand it. It's all mechanically. So if it is mechanically inclined, we need to see how they are put together to for them to create a relational meaning, not only in terms of how the words are set, but also with relationship to the circumstances surrounding it. When I say circumstances, you could do certain search queries for, let's say, clothing. But if you are in the summer season, the search would add its own wisdom or collection of other other signals, you could say, that would add to the interpretation to give a better sense uh, in responding to the search query by adding a meaning to it based on, like I said, it could be seasonal, it could be intent based on whether you are looking for a product or services, or you're just doing exploratory queries, or it is navigational queries, and so on. So we will discuss those. That's what we call understanding mm, how search engine understands search query, or how the intent is translated for the search engine. In number 6, we will actually start looking at techniques in building complex search queries. Now, complex search queries, we give it a name complex is because we will be using circumstances, or we will be creating a use case, and we would be assuming a certain scenario where we are searching for something. So let's say if Justin is coming from the recruitment background, or if that is the primary interest of Justin to take this course, we will be discussing more of how the recruiters can create those queries in certain situations, or how they would search in social media, and be more specifically searching in LinkedIn. What could be some of the Google search operators we could use to enter into the social media sites, quickly get to what exactly we are looking for, and so on. So that would make it or give it that complexity. So we will be dealing with complex search queries in number 6. In number 7, I'm sorry, then we go to number 7, and it is now taking us slightly in a different direction, because up until number 6, topic number 6, we would have actually gained those skills enough that would make us proficient in doing independent searches. But when we come to number 7, we are looking at a situation which goes beyond just building search queries to get a better understanding of where some of the important online databases are and how to find them. These are already created information sets which are out there, but you don't know when, if it is the right time to get to them, or if you have a budget to access it, or if there are freebies or freely available databases or government collected information, that is readily available, but you don't know how to get to that. So we would look at all those scenarios to expand our approach to doing or looking for information by the time we get to number 7. In 8, we would now be sort of, remember I said it is segmented into 2 sections, talking about module 2, because here we are actually discussing module 2. Unfortunately, it is not separated as modules. It is all the topics put together. But anyway, in number 8, we would be in segment 2, which is going to deal with traditional research methods. Traditional research, because research has been around for for as long as humans have the curiosity to find things and to build things and so on. So research has always been there. It became more structured and more organized with time, of course, and it became a subject in itself. Eventually, it has roots in certain methods and methodologies which are commonly understood to be a language that any researcher would understand in exchanging, dealing with, or building research reports or doing formal researches. So certain elements where we have collected a lot of information and we have created our own, let's say, a method of how we are going to write a research. Eventually, you have to write a report. You can't just keep it in your brain. You have to put it out somewhere. So organizing that data, structuring it, uh, that's going beyond just the collection of info, and then interpreting it, making it more meaningful, and so on and so forth, has certain rules and certain industry accepted practices that would make those research reports easy for anyone to understand in the research market, or uh, in the sense of how certain terminologies are used, certain methods and methodologies, and certain philosophies are applied in research, is part and parcel of your doing research as a formal researcher. And this is how you will be recognized as a professional researcher. So as far as recruitment justice is concerned, even that would be something where you could be writing some research reports on how to approach or how to go about doing research, looking for those resumes or the possible candidates, and for the way in which you're going to design it. It could be either instructional. You can create instruction sets for others to follow to find information, or you have a management team that is looking for something from HR department in the form of research reports on how to find the candidates. That could be a piece of research that requires, again, certain methods, certain formal ways. It's just not a free handwriting in research world. So just to understand the formal ways in which certain things are established as instruction sets, which has a method to it. One of the things is samples. You would require samplings because sampling out of a huge population is the best way to sometimes look for data that you can uh, use as you know and collect basically as a sample. So primarily methods of how the sampling works, or how you can use some acceptable sampling methods in research. That's one thing. Second is um, analytics, like what could be some of the better ways of or most industry recognized or commonly recognized qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. So that is going to be number two. Number three is what are some of the philosophies, of collecting data, like approaches. Instead of philosophies, I should use the word approaches. Philosophy is a very old word. So methods and methodologies too. Um, then we've what else? We have what we are going to cover. And then we are going to cover some of the ways in which surveys are done, like the type of questionnaire that you're going to build, some formal studies, informal studies, social experiments, focus groups. Most of what we'll be looking at is virtual type of data collection methods. Like I said, focus groups, social media, so many others. So we'll be discussing that part. And this is what we cover in traditional research methods and methodologies. And after number 8, the 9 and 10 are separate modules. So let's say the topic 1 is module 1, topics 8, sorry, 2 through 8 is module 2, which is, as you could see, is making about 70% of the CIRS course. And 9 is another module, which is another just separate exam. We call this research in business and business of research. We have included this in our CIRS course only because a lot, you could say a heavy um, uh, interest. We found that people have of going independent and start their own research business. So to make it more objective and for the benefit of those who want to go independent and become independent researchers, we introduced module 3, which is topic number 9. It is going to talk about the ways in which a professional researcher should conduct their business. It's not about formation of a business. It's not like S corporation or LLC, nothing of that sort. It's more to do with opportunities that you can find for work that could be outsourced to an independent researcher by corporate, by other companies as an opportunity, and also what is out there that you can look for easily as a low-hanging fruit for you to get some independent work as a as a researcher. So number 9 is and we are also going to look at, and what is really important in 9 is that we are going to look at how the traditional research methods and our co-research abilities combined together mm, um, are used to build research reports. So there will be specimens of research reports we have used as a sample, a market research format. That is more interesting, I think, and it is most useful. So we're going to discuss that in number 9. In number 10, we are dealing with module 4, which is going to be the last one in our CIRS course. And again, this is an independent module, meaning it has a separate exam. So basically, we have 4 exams for each module. So the last one is number 10. Here we will be discussing internet laws and internet ethics. So internet law, especially for researchers, I would say that is the aspects which are most important. Number one, when you're collecting information or data, to what extent you are liable for its integrity, for its distribution, what is intellectual property about for researchers to watch out for not getting into trouble with, basically just mitigating or reducing their risk and exposure in legal situations. And what is informed consent, for instance, for collecting information from individuals, especially the vulnerable groups, even social media. So that is what we will discuss: intellectual property like copyrights um, and trademarks and patents and so on. But I guess most important for researchers when they are collecting free information or the content that is available online, we have to be careful or know to what extent we can build on that collection of content that we intend to use, what could be the copyright issues and so on. And internet ethics is what is going to wrap up everything, or it addresses everything that has to do with internet law, is because we have certain obligations, especially depending on which part of the world we are sitting in or doing our research or collecting information from. So certain ethical concerns which we have to be aware of, or we are morally responsible, and to some extent there are legalities also that we have to watch for, but is also bound by the ethical concerns or some of the laws that are promulgated based on the ethics or the social concerns or the um, I guess, the ways in which certain part of the world is segmented and they deal with the, um, I guess, censorship, and some of the issues which could be more sensitive, the geopolitical situation, so on. So, what to what extent ethic is going to touch that subject? It is not going to be lengthy lectures. We just have 4 hours of discussion in number 10 and 4 hours also in number 4. So this becomes really tight, especially at the end when we get done with module 2, which is a hefty one. And a lot of times we are not able to cover everything only because, we are doing some practical examples. Sometimes, it is very hard to ignore questions from, and of course, more make sense questions from the students. So the time extends and the hours extend, but I'm not uh, concerned about that as much because I am always willing to, add more classes if things are not finished. Then we also have certain backups, like videos that's created even before we get to our course. There would be few more videos that are published, and it would be covering quite a bit. Now, I'm not talking about the recordings. Recording is different from videos, are more instructional and more detailed. So that works as a supplemental info and at times fills in the gap. If we are not able to finish something, we could just give you those videos. So that is how we will intend to cover it. And as far as questions or something that you need to ask, I guess the main idea behind live classes has always been to make it more interactive for people to participate and for students to be able to ask questions and for the instructor to get to know their students better and sort of work in a more customized way to for the satisfaction of everybody in the class. But if we have a thin attendance and the number of attendees are less, um, it's not as I guess, well, you could say that it doesn't conform to the spirit of the class or the reason behind taking the live classes. So I would encourage whoever is not here today or they intend to start on the 11th, which is a formal date for starting the course itself. I would encourage you and emphasize that it would be worth a lot more to you in if you are able to make it to the class. And if you are not able to do that, and for various reasons, because everybody is working and this is a time allocated in the evenings, I guess, from where I am sitting. So at times it becomes difficult, and if that has to happen and you're not able to attend, then there are recordings that we try our best to get them uploaded after editing them a little bit. We upload it and it takes about 24 hours to 48 hours. And especially on the weekends, if it's Friday, the recording will be available on Monday. So that's one thing that might be, uh, you know, not covering it within the time we intend to. So anyway, if you have any questions, I haven't gone through individual slides here. These you already have in your Dropbox. You have access to that. Right now, I have this in PowerPoint, but your copy will be in the PDF format. So you can look at, individually like what is covered, but we don't go exactly by what is in there as if we are following it as a sequence of lectures. So whatever I think is necessary, a lot of times some of the slides that I get, I'm not um, I don't find them as important or they're incomplete, so I'm going to throw in few more slides on my own or make changes. That is the privilege I get as an instructor. So don't get confused with finding something that is slightly different the next time you access your Dropbox. That's because I'm all the time upgrading, changing, and making it up to date. So anytime the coursework or PowerPoints needs to be downloaded on your site, just make sure that you are overwriting what you have downloaded earlier, so it is occupied with the latest version. Okay. And I was supposed to go through the Dropbox as well, but what I would rather do, and there's just three of I get two students in today, uh, and I'm assuming that this recording is going to be heard by everybody else. So please note that the next time when we start on the 11th of August, I would expect that you would have gone through your Dropbox just to get familiarized with what is in there. And if you have questions or something that you want to send me earlier before the class, because once the class start, it is quite rapid. And all of us are really in the more focused on delivering the content versus, asking questions or anything that you have in mind that you would need answer for. You can write it to me directly in the email that's sent to you. You have my email address, and I will make sure that I respond to it so that there is less of a backlog on question side. Anything that I can answer for you right now, I'd be happy to do that. The idea today was just to give you an overview of how the course is going to be covered and what is going to be covered. In that's the details that I wanted to go through. It is more important because this way you are mentally prepared to how the course is going to take its direction. So anything I can answer for you, Justin, and Mike, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Yes.
I can't remember if it's in the course material, but I think one thing that comes up often is data scraping tools, sort of Google extensions. And I was just wondering if we cover those and kind of what we have to watch out for legally.
Mhm. Yes, and I would love to answer that during the lectures as well. And if you write me a question, not just the one that just came to your mind now, maybe a few other things that you may want to me to discuss or be specific about, something that would truly benefit you as as a recruiter, for instance, you can put it in the email and send it to me. And I'll address it in more detail, but I do it in a subtle way because everybody else is in the class as well. But I will make sure I attend to all of those points and somehow deliver it to the benefit of everybody, in the class. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's call it an evening. Where about are you, Justin and Mike, if I may ask? Which part of this US time zone?
I'm in Cleveland.
Okay, Ohio, right?
Yep.
Hey,
Okay.
Justin, you're from Cleveland, huh?
Yep, that's right.
Oh my God, I'm from Toledo originally. In fact, I'll be heading back there next month for a relatively nice visit.
Oh, nice. What part of Florida are you in?
Jacksonville. I used to work for the CSX Railroad, so they moved my butt down here.
Okay.
How often do you go to Bono's barbecue?
Oh, I tell you, Cedar Point is, well, that's, of course, Cedar Point goes without saying. That's going to be a stop, hopefully.
But no, in
Well,
Jacksonville, how often do you go to Bono's barbecue?
oh, Bono's. See, that's our favorite barbecue spot. Yeah, we got one just, oh gosh, about 3 miles from here.
Yeah, so that's um, Lou Bono is my great uncle. So a lot of my family is from Jacksonville.
Oh, really?
So,
Yeah.
s- so Mike, you should be able to eat there for free or at a high discount if you know Justin.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll see
Jeff.
what I can do.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool though that you and I've got this much in common. We're both from Ohio, and we both have family or whatever, or myself here in Jacksonville. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ohio
Well,
is Midwest, is it? On the time zone? You call it
it's the
Midwest
heart.
or is it?
It,
Huh?
it is the heart of the Midwest.
Yeah,
the heart
Okay.
of the Midwest. It's right on good old Lake
Towards.
Erie.
that's right. Only about 3 hours south of Toronto. There's about.
So that means you're like only 1 hour behind from us
Oh,
in Cleveland. No,
oh,
no,
no, actually,
Justin is,
we're on Eastern time. Ohio
you
is
both
on
on
Eastern
Eastern
time.
time.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So that makes it really nice for me to, when I say have a nice evening, that should work for all three of us. So let's call it an evening, and thank you so much, both of you, for joining me today. It was brief,
It was
and I
fun.
hope it was useful. And I will be looking forward to meet you again on the 11th, along with hopefully all those that are missing today. All
Right. So
right.
there's no class
So,
on Wednesday.
yeah, there is no class on Wednesday. It's because actually originally it was somebody else who was supposed to be taking this class,
Okay.
and we had to make last minute changes. So that's the reason why you see a gap. And if you look at the schedule, there would be another 2 to 3 days gap coming up somewhere, I guess, on the 21st, up until 26th. So there'll be, well, you can just have a look at it and see where you have those gaps. And in the meantime, up until 11th, I do have about enough time to make some changes in the slides that I intend to play in the class, which is going to be, specific to my way of how I'd like them to be. So that gives me a little bit of room. So this could be another reason. But in any case, see you all on 11th, not on Wednesday, but this will be the Friday, the coming Friday.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Have a
Thank you
nice
so much.
evening. Thank you and bye bye. Take care.
Have a great night.
You
Thank you.
too.
Bye.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.